NASCAR on TNT is on in the Blue Kentucky Speedway, playing host around 17 for the Sprint Cup Series tonight. Welcome in to Countdown to Green, presented by Kelley Blue Book. And as you can see, those aren't race cars. They are jet dryers on the track. Yes, we've had a rain shower move through late this afternoon. Off and on showers expected throughout the night. Here's the weather right now. 74 degrees, a slight breeze out of the northwest. And as we told you, scattered showers in the forecast. Hang tight, be patient. We could be here a while. You see the introduction stage is there, and that's a good sign as we close in on the start of tonight's 400-miler in Sparta, Kentucky. Good to have you with us on TNT, everybody. With Kyle Petty, I'm Adam Alexander. Let's go through the headlines so far this weekend.
Headlines?
Yeah. Dale Earnhardt Jr. won his first pole of the season yesterday, set a new track record in the process.
Impressive.
And defending Sprint Cup Series champion Brad Keselowski, who won this race a year ago, victorious last night in nationwide competition. And the other big newsmaker of the week would be this guy, Kyle Petty, making comments about Danica Patrick. Remind us once again what you said earlier this week.
I think it would be tough to remind you what I said because I said it almost 2.5 or 3 years ago. I've not changed my story, okay? I think she is a marketing machine. She came in here with a lot of finances behind her. Tony Stewart picked her up, put her in a car, and I think she's been great for the sport. She's taken us places and brought more publicity and more eyes on this sport than anybody in recent years. At the same time, I do believe she's made great improvement. You watch her qualify, she always picks up from whatever she ran in practice. She does really good. I've yet to see her race. She goes out there, she runs her laps, she runs her line, and she does a really good job of that. But I've yet to see her race anybody for position. She picks up positions when people fall out. She falls back in positions when people pass her. I want to see some racing going on. So I said, she's not a race car driver yet. She can go fast, but she's not a race car driver yet. Stand behind it. I'm not backing down.
And for the record, yesterday in the media center, they asked her about your comments. She said, I don't care what Kyle Petty thinks, and also said, you know what, I'm not a great qualifier, but I've been much better in race mode. So that was her comeback to you. She's got the numbers to back it up, and she's not backing down.
What numbers to back it up?
She hasn't been a great qualifier.
What numbers to back it up? She's got no numbers.
Okay.
No numbers.
The numbers would suggest that she hasn't been a great qualifier. But anyway, she's not backing down.
And she shouldn't back down.
And you have to admire her competitive attitude.
Hold on. She should not back down. And let me say that. When we drove race cars, when I drove race cars, when Wally does, whether it's Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Dale Jr., the criticism that he takes, you've got to let it go in one ear and out the other ear. You've got to let it be like water off a duck's back. You can't take it personal. This is my opinion only. I'm the one that's spouting my mouth off and running my mouth. She has to take that and either use it as motivation and go out and prove me wrong, or just continue to do what she's doing. So I applaud her for not taking it personally and not taking it that way. But that's my opinion on it.
I didn't get you mad, did I? Just start out?
No, you didn't get me mad. You just do the number thing, and there are no numbers.
Okay.
Thank you for protecting us. Thank you for saving us. And thank you for allowing us to live in this great country we live in.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has teamed up with the National Guard Youth Foundation specifically to draw attention to the nation's alarming high school dropout rate.
I like to help people. I like to see good things happen to good people, and I definitely enjoy trying to be a good role model and trying to give people direction and if they need it. I think that the person who makes the choice to change their life and puts the effort in and does the work and does the heavy lifting to turn their life around. I think that the credit goes to their efforts, and for them to be able to understand what they've accomplished and to stand by it and continue going in the right direction, they have to own it.
Dale Jr. doing a great job working with the National Guard as we welcome you back. Kelley Blue Book presenting the Countdown to Green as our jet dryers continue to work out on the racetrack. So, Larry McReynolds, I guess the big question as we come out of that piece with Junior is Junior Nation going to celebrate today?
Yeah, I want to look at our Kelley Blue Book race analysis, and I absolutely think he's got a fast race car. He's starting on the pole. He was happy with his race car in those two practices yesterday. Just maybe, for the first time in over a year, Junior Nation will have a celebration tomorrow. But the other thing I'm going to be watching is if you look at the qualifying draw, how the drivers went out last night in qualifying, and we had cloud coverings going in and going out. And of course, when you get a cloud covering, the track would gain a lot of grip. So I think we have a lot of notable drivers that have fast race cars starting outside the top 15, like Kenseth and Kane. We know they've been fast at the mile-and-a-half racetracks. Martin Truex Jr., our winner from last week, and of course Kevin Harvick, who won at Charlotte, another mile-and-a-half racetrack. But I think the other thing that I'll be watching, I agree with Kyle Petty. We'll be racing from night to night, not daylight to night, but we do have a green racetrack that has no rubber on it, and as this racetrack gets rubber, it's going to be an ever-changing racetrack, so I think the driver and the team that can make the adjustments, even if your driver's happy with the race car, you have to keep making adjustments, they will be the one going to victory lane tonight. That's something I'll be watching as well.
Okay, so the Kelley Blue Book Insider Analysis is done and over with. Now let's get a little technical on this race car. You know, the last couple of times we've been here, I've noticed these cars have been very fast. They have that funky little crab walk as they go down the straightaway. Didn't look real fast, but it was fast. They're not doing it now, but the times are just as quick.
Well, and that was something in my mind that was getting a little bit out of control. And the more they would dog track or crab walk the cars, if you look at the right side of this race car, you can see it's fairly flat. So the more they could get this right side out into the air, it created the driver have security driving off in a corner Speedway at over 190 miles per hour. But teams were also doing things. NASCAR was putting a limit on how much you could dog track it. They would check it in inspection. But teams were figuring out a way to get more when the car was on the racetrack. And Ralph, the amount of money that teams were spending on that was getting absolutely out of control. And I think NASCAR acknowledged that. So what NASCAR did is we came up with a Generation 6 car here in 2013. They said we're going to do away with that. Take that away and put the teams at a handicap and not have the drivers happy with the way the car would go off in the corner. So as we talked about earlier in the season, one of the things they did with this Generation 6 car is we had this big rear spoiler. Has a lot of rear downforce. So even though they don't have as much side force maybe with this car, they have a lot more rear downforce to deal with.
Different way of doing it, accomplishing the same goal.
And maybe not near as expensive for the owners.
And it looks better going down the racetrack.
Yeah, again, it was getting to the point where they couldn't even almost get them in the garage area because they were dog tracking so bad.
That's right. All right, well that explains it. Now we know what the changes are with the Gen 6 car. And when we come back, we're going to have a look at Brad Keselowski and what's happening in his world. He's parking motor coaches right now, but we're going to have Marty chatting with him when we come back. Stay with us here. We're live on TNT.
We honestly do think that we're going to get this race in tonight. We've had obviously rain this afternoon, but there's one more shower that's going to pass through, and then there's a very large window, so we do think we'll get this thing in this evening, so stick around. Time for KFC Fresh Off the Wire, and we're certainly talking about Dale Earnhardt Jr., his first pole since September at Richmond. We're also talking Brad Keselowski. It's been since 2002 with Jeff Gordon that a defending champ has gone this late into a season without a win. Of course, he came here last year, changed all that, got the win in this race last year, made that fuel mileage last 59 laps. Here you seen on the racetrack last year, passing Denny Hamlin with a pass for the win and made that fuel stretch out. And I would love to hear from Kyle and Wally their thoughts. You know, if you're Brad Keselowski, are you worried, Kyle and Wally, about the fact that far this season, or do you sit there and say, you know what? We're okay. We know this is our good time of the year.
So we're a little bit. I mean, you know, Brad, I think he's got a third at Las Vegas and Bristol, but since then, they really haven't put up the numbers. So yeah, I would be worried. I mean, you know, they've been running decent, but they really haven't been running good enough to be in a position to win races. And when they had a year like they did last year, yeah. I think they're searching right now.
Yeah, I think they've got to be worried. I think you go back to 2011. They got hot the last 10 or 15 races. Remember, they made the chase, and everybody said, how did these guys make the chase? I don't understand that. They finished 5th in points. They continue that momentum all the way to 2012, win the championship. They started this year strong with Ford, but they had the little incident with the parts at Texas, and that stopped their momentum. And I think that's the issue. It's as much about winning races to me. They've got to win races, but they've got to get that momentum back. And to get that momentum back quick, because they've got to have it to roll into the chase to have a chance to repeat as a champion. What do you think about it, Larry?
Well, Kyle, there's no question Brad Keselowski and that 2 team, they're a little bit of a head scratcher, because if you look at the first 18 races, and we've run 16 so far, but those first 8, 7 top 10 finishes and was sitting 3rd in the points. And then if you look at the last 8 since that situation at Texas, those 8 races, only 1 top 10 finish, and he's sitting 9th in the points. Now, you may think it would have affected Joey Logano and the 22 team just as much, but they're actually performing pretty well. But I did uncover one little something. If you look at those first 8 races, Brad Keselowski did double duty, ran the Nationwide Series race in 6 of those 8. If you look at the last 8, now I'm not including this weekend at Kentucky, but the last 8, he only did double duty once. So Marty Snyder, the good news for Brad Keselowski, he's doing triple duty here this weekend. Actually ran the truck race on Thursday night as well.
Oh, Larry Mack, you missed it. Brad Keselowski was imitating you. So you can tell us on Twitter tonight, NASCAR_TNT, how you think Brad will do. You can hashtag it Brad wins, Brad top 10, Brad top 20, or Brad outside 20 for Brad Keselowski. Let us know how you think that he'll do tonight. Yeah, and here's a replay of Brad making fun of Larry. You weren't making fun of him. You were doing your imitation of him. And what are you saying here?
I'm saying I was being a politician. Larry Mack, the politician. Could you imagine?
Yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it?
I just watched this politician movie with Will Ferrell, and I'm just thinking Larry Mack could have definitely played one of those politicians.
You had all the movements down. You want to walk us through the speech?
Oh, but no, I'm not going to. I mean, you add in a couple of I believes and freedom. You got to add the word freedom in there. And Larry Mack, that could have very easily been a run for president.
That would have been very impressive. All right, well, let's talk about your season so far. So that was kind of the discussion leading into this. And I talked to Paul Wolf earlier this week. He said, honestly, he thinks right now you guys are struggling. I guess, A, do you agree? B, why?
We could be better, absolutely. We're not terrible, but we could definitely be better. We need a little bit more speed in our cars, and we need to execute at a little higher level than we have been. Some things have just been bad luck, and some have been just, some things that I've done wrong or whatever happens, But, yeah, we can obviously be better. The finishes haven't been where we want them to be. I thought we had a great run going at both Darlington and Texas and those places that could have been wins, didn't get the result. But there's been other places that we struggled, whether it was Charlotte or, even at the road course Sonoma. But, things just haven't come together. But, it's just a little funk that we're in. We'll get out of it if we, all keep working together and push as one team.
Is there something to what Larry Mack was saying, that the fact when you run nationwide and the Cup weekend, do you do better?
Well, I mean, the numbers sure do say that way, but, it's hard to say. I don't feel any different inside, but, when you're winning, you get confidence, and, sometimes that just carries over.
And you can see that win from last night, hoping that carries over to this evening as well. What is it about the summertime with your racing? You guys seem to take off. Why?
Well, I would say from Kentucky weekend on is probably the strength of our schedule. This particular track, Kentucky, it's really bumpy. It takes a very specific driving style to run well here that, I seem to really like. Watkins Glen, the road course, I run really well there. Something about going back to Michigan and Pocono. We ran well at both of those tracks this year, but didn't get the result that we felt like we were good or capable of. So, hopefully we can put those pieces together and get the actual result. I don't know why this section of the schedule is very good for us, but I'm certainly glad it is.
I think our friend Larry Mack has either a retort or a question. Larry, what's up?
No, I don't have a question. I'm going to do my Brad Keselowski
Oh, here's a Brad Keselowski impersonation.
I can fix everything wrong with NASCAR. Everybody I race against cheating, and I'm the greatest champion there's ever been. Just kidding,
he said
Brad.
everybody.
Love you, buddy.
He said you're going to fix everything with NASCAR. Everybody against you cheating, and you're the greatest champion ever. Is that accurate?
That sounds great. I love you, Larry Mack. You forgot the Go Blue.
There you go. Go
Roll
Blue.
Tide.
Oh, he said Roll Tide. You got that. Sorry. You can't get a Go Blue out of him.
Of course he did, but that's why we love you, Larry Mack.
All right, very good. Hey, this guy was a part of All Access 2 weeks ago. About burned down a Ford. Unfortunately, he didn't do it. But what have we seen so far in All Access? This is Sean Curlin from Denny Hamlin's team drinking from a downspout. There's Keselowski burning off the rear tires of a Mustang. We went on vacation with the Montoyas. This week, coming up, Kurt Busch will be All Access.
Yeah, I've thrown out some first pitches, but I try not to think about it. I don't know if I'll get warm up. A lot of times you don't, and so you just go out there and wing it. And it'll be fun. I'm going to go up on the mound and we'll shake off some calls. I'm coming in with the heat, so we'll see how it turns out.
Right now, mainly behind the grandstands. Turns 2, turns 3, everything looks pretty clear out that way. And this week we went all access with Kurt Busch. A few years ago, a lot of people questioned whether a team based in Denver, Colorado could be successful at the Cup level. Well, 2 years ago, Barney Visser proved everybody wrong when Regan Smith won at Darlington. Prior to that, it had been almost 40 years since a team had won that was based west of the Mississippi. Well, this week we got to see just how passionate Barney Visser is with his team and Kurt Busch is with his driving, but also how passionate Kurt Busch is about our nation's military.
Radio, check 1, 2. Loud and clear, Kurt, loud and clear. Good luck, brother. 10-4, thanks for all the help, guys. I'll do my best out here. Let's do it this time. Go, 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 go hard, go hard, go hard, go.
Green flag is in the air. We are road course racing at Sonoma. Looking to the inside at turn 7. New leader at Sonoma, Kurt Busch around Marcos Ambrose. And now we get a caution.
Caution's out here, caution. What is going on? What happened? Do not speed. Do not speed. They got several for speeding already. Too fast, pit road, section 4. Is it confirmed? Yes, it is confirmed. Really sorry, I messed this up today, guys. My bad, all the way around. Sorry, I pissed away a winning car.
At the end of the day, it was a good finish. Yet there was still some left out on the table with how fast the car was. And since it was so fast on pit road, that penalty put us way behind. But at the end of the day, if we're kicking tires because we finished 4th, that means that we're getting closer and closer.
Good job today, Kurt. Did a good job overcoming that P4. Not too bad with 2 pass-throughs.
Hey guys, it's Kurt.
Hey, Kurt. Hey, Kurt.
What's up?
Let's start off with
recap here of Sonoma.
If we wanted to discuss pit road, I tried to gas it up on the exit of the pit stop and
carried it way beyond the line where I was supposed to be back to pit road speed, or I just gained too much speed in that section.
The segment was so long you were able to average more than 45 miles an hour on your way out.
after you cross the line after the pit stop.
It's my fault. At the end of the day, the car ran great. I'm not saying that we couldn't have won the race, but
we were definitely a second place car and finished fourth with it at the end of the day.
That's what we said. Too bad we can't rewatch it Monday and then come back and race it on Sunday. Yeah. All right, then we'll just roll into Kentucky here.
Pit road, pretty straightforward this week.
Wait, careful. Pit road's not straightforward right now. Your driver keeps screwing up.
Yeah, true. It's good, yeah. It's straightforward compared to last week for sure.
Okay, all right. Somebody said, yeah, true. Who was that?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
All right. Everybody good? Rick, you good?
I'm good. I just want to compliment you, Kurt, on your rebound. You did a fantastic job last week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. All right, Kurt. Bye.
Generally, the day after the race, we're working on next week's car until the truck comes back. Generally, the truck comes back either on a Monday, sometimes on a Tuesday. When the truck does arrive, immediately hands-on. You know, most of the guys are getting last week's cars off. Here on Colorado, we leave, a little bit early, about 3 to 4 days earlier than everybody else. So we have to be prepped approximately 4 to 5 days in advance of what the normal teams over in North Carolina would do.
That's really the only thing that's different. You just have to kind of be prepared to turn the truck in one day instead of 2 or 3. It narrows your week up just a little bit, but doing this for 7 years, they've been juggling equipment, parts and pieces back and forth from the East Coast to here. Have really good systems in place. There's people in North Carolina that manage that. There's a truck that comes back and forth every week. All the stuff that's been put in here way prior to me makes all that work seamlessly, and you take it for granted. All the parts get here, and they get back, and everything gets where it needs to be.
As a baseball fan, it's never a bad thing to be right here, and getting the group in and having the access from the Orioles and the AFF making the call to get all these guys down here. I felt like a kid in a candy store trying to usher them on in, like, no, it's for you guys. But I'm like, move out of the way, it's baseball. So it's so cool just to be down on the field. We had a couple of Orioles come by, and say hi and say thanks to our service members. And I was told by the grounds crew and the official throw out the first pitch people, I cannot go on the mound. And now with me standing on the grass, all those troops up there, they're gonna call me a big puss. Everybody's gonna think I tried to shorten up the distance because I might bounce it. So now I'm all messed up. I'm so flustered. This is like speeding on pit road. I mean, I threw a wrench in the program here. I don't know how I'm gonna recover. So you guys have footage of this, right? I stood on the grass because I was told to.
Please give a warm Oriole Park welcome to the driver of the number 78 Furniture Road Racing Chevy, Kurt Busch.
Thanks a lot, man.
I don't know. What do you think?
This looks like you're selling lemonade in the South with a little Southern belle.
Oh my God.
Bless your heart. I like that one.
You'd be a serious lost cause with fashion on the hill, because this is not just as easy as putting on a fire suit that you didn't choose.
Hey, I was just going to give you a compliment on how quick you get ready.
I do. You take way longer than
10 minutes.
I know. We got to go. That's why.
Right, so you sure I can't go with the Kyle Petty tie? I'm ready. I think it matches. Look at this. It says Canadian tuxedo on. That is so sweet. Look, 2 earrings in there.
Sweet.
Ponytail's back there somewhere.
Is this, well, Kyle Petty's fashion is timeless. He seems to be the same.
Probably earlier. I don't know when they came out with that Pontiac. Maybe 97.
Okay. But no, you may not wear that to the hill.
I'm stoked. It's time. Kyle Petty, beware. I got you, boy.
Nice.
Perfect. Coming into Congress today, Patricia set up a meeting about a bill that she wants to pass for our service members. Hey, Murphy.
Buddy.
Good to see you.
Originally, we probably looked at PTSD. I did. As mostly affecting kids that didn't really have a frame of reference to put in what they saw or what they did, right? They just didn't know how to handle it.
We talked to a kid, an officer yesterday.
47 years old. Man.
47 years old. You know, just life fell apart. He did a few tours, came back, had a couple of divorces, caused a lot of depression, had 2 kids, told us that he was just drinking himself to death.
Yeah, he just was going to lock himself away for 30 days, and he was going to drink himself to death.
Yep.
That was his agenda. So how do you find more support for this?
You could put this in, set aside, and then through approach.
Right.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. It's funny how so many people that you never thought of were in a NASCAR. Oh my gosh, is that Kurt Busch? Or, you know, a congressman who freaks out, oh my gosh, it's Kurt Busch. But he helps me draw a lot of attention to the causes. And I love bringing him into my meetings because for the members of Congress, it's a distraction too. They love talking to somebody who's not just all politics all the time, but somebody who actually gets the message and really is passionate about what it is that we're doing and really wants to make a difference.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's been a fun week, and yet each time I jump in the plane, it feels like it's race mode and race weekend starts. And so the plane is just like the motorhome when you get to the track. It's just that peace and the calm, and it's the focus of race weekend. So we're on our way to Kentucky, about an hour or so left on the flight, and so it'll be fun to see how all this turns out.
They've been fast for the last few weeks, but they definitely need a good result. And this team, very fast, 3rd quick on the board right now.
Pretty messy out here. Loose in, tight in the center.
We're on our mark now. You loosen the back, you got the rear one loose, he's still fighting the same thing at the end.
Yeah, but
I mean, you got to be so conservative on entry in 1, obviously, it looked like.
Really got to back up the entry, but we're still loose in.
Got it. And that was a good last lap.
Oh, that last lap was really good.
Yeah.
Right off the truck, the car was very loose in and tight through the middle part of the corner, but we made it better, and we had some lap times that showed speed, but the car didn't have any comfort into it. And that's been our struggle, is having comfort to run a full 400-mile race. Winning isn't everything, but it's going to put a lot of questions to bed and it's going to show the strength of this team. I think it'll answer a lot of questions when we do win. We just can't force it to happen like I tried last week.
And the 2004 champ and the 78 team, they've shown a lot of speed this year, but still just looking for that missing ingredient to try and put an entire race together. Still a lot of debate in the garage whether this team can make the chase, but most are definitely convinced that they will be back in victory lane. Will that be tonight? And next week, it's going to be Carl Edwards and the 99 team. We're going to go to Roush Fenway's HQ. Also spend a little time with Carl Edwards in the cockpit of his plane.
It was pretty fun to watch the 78 guys. Denny, Brad, Juan, all of them have been great. But next week you get to see the 99 crew behind the scenes, how we get it done going into Daytona.
And Jeff Gordon signing some autographs. He was second at Sonoma last week, trying to get that monkey off his back. Stay tuned for more on Countdown to Green.
NASCAR on TNT, back live in Sparta, Kentucky. The Kentucky Speedway playing host to the Sprint Cup Series tonight. And unfortunately, things a bit slow going right now. Rain shower moved through just past 5 p.m. Eastern time. They started drying the track, but we got wet once again. The rain has stopped. The jet dryers are back out on track, and it takes approximately 90 minutes to dry this place. So hopefully, we're less than 2 hours away from going green tonight here at Kentucky. And when you're in the TV business, you got to work really hard at prepping your wardrobe. And you know, I'm a team player. I'm absolutely a team player. What do you think of this thing?
I like it.
You like that?
Yes, I do like it.
Kurt Busch, if you saw the all-access piece, he let me borrow it.
Do you think you can embarrass me by that? I made money off that. You can't embarrass cash. Okay, just remember that.
It wasn't embarrassment. It was just a little fun. But I got to say, when you let it let me take the hat off, I mean...
Oh, you got the expensive one.
Yeah, it's the real one. It's not a clip-on.
It's not a clip-on, right? Yeah, they had clip-ons.
Now, Wally, you still using the zip tie?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah. And it looks good. No, I just want to make sure that's the way you were going.
You think you're going to embarrass me on that? You're not either.
Okay, before I get red-faced, let's go to Ralph Shaheen, who's with Matt Kenseth, who's got a pretty good track record here at Kentucky.
Standing by with Matt Kenseth now, getting ready to go racing. Now, how's the 20 car?
I don't know. I need to ask Jason. It wasn't that great yesterday, but he assures me it's going to be perfect tonight.
You're actually one of the guys who does not have a ton of laps here, right? Because you didn't spend a lot of time here in the other divisions or testing here. How come?
I don't know. That's a good question. So, we used to come here way back when I built the place a few times to test, and whenever we would go somewhere and thought we figured something out, and we go to Chicago or Kansas or somewhere we thought was the same, it was really none of it really related, so we just kind of quit. Never really had the opportunity to run a nationwide or a truck race here, so it was my first time, along with a lot of other guys here a couple of years ago.
With the racetrack, we've talked a lot about the bumps on this place. What's your feeling on it? How bumpy is it?
It's really bumpy. It's by far the bumpiest racetrack we race at, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think the more character and the more, challenging the layout and surface is, I think that makes for an interesting race. The guys who can hit it right and figure out how to make their cars work through the bumps and get to do the things they want to do will, they'll be up front tonight.
How about strategy tonight? Can you do 2 tires, and can you do it more than once?
I'm not sure. I would think you would be able to. It is a different left side tire, I believe, than what we raced here the last couple of years, so that might change a little bit. But I think, there's going to be that compromise. You saw it in a nationwide race. There's always a compromise between track position and newer tires. Last night, the newer tires, won out. So I think it just depends on circumstances.
All right, good luck.
In the what a difference a year makes category, when we came here last season, Matt Kenseth had just made the announcement he would not return to the Roush Fenway organization for the 2013 season. Of course, later in the fall, he did make it official that he would drive for Joe Gibbs Racing. And when you look at the results this year, 3 victories, he's certainly in the hunt for a championship. This team has been really strong in 2013.
Yeah, I think they have. And, I've said it all year long. I said the one thing that Matt did, he went over there and he has picked up exactly where he should be. He's running up front, places where we've never seen Matt lead races, places where we've never seen Matt qualify well. He's taken that team, and that team's taken him. It's a joint effort, and put Matt back in the driver's seat. I think, really, I said it before, there's a funny saying in North Carolina that Dean Smith was the only guy that could keep Michael Jordan under 40 points. Jack Roush was the only guy that could keep Matt Kenseth for winning races, it looks like to me, because he has absolutely turned it loose this year.
And what's been impressive to me about all their early season success, anytime you go into a new situation, while you usually have this feeling out period with your new team, new crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe, a young crew chief in the Sprint Cup Series garage, they seem to hit the ground running.
I mean, right off the bat. Now, in the last few races, he struggled a little bit. He's got some bad finishes in the last 3 or 4 of the 4 races, but he's awfully good, or was earlier in the year, on these mile-and-a-half racetracks, and that's what I was saying earlier. I think if they get back on track and they start running really well on these types of racetracks, he is going to be a contender in the championship, because the mile-and-a-halves are so important in the chase. There's 5 of them. So it'll be interesting to see if those guys can turn it around this weekend and build some more of that momentum. I mean, he's still top 5 in points. It's pretty strong. He's just had some bad finishes in the last few weeks.
And the key for him, as you pointed out, in regard to the championship, he's won 3 times. When we get to the chase, those are bonus points, yes, which absolutely are king if you're going to take home the trophy at the end of the year. And Larry, when you look at this team's performance, Wally talked about the fact they've been good at the mile-and-a-halves, but I like what Kyle said. They also have kind of overachieved at tracks where, in the past, Matt Kenseth's resume has not been so great.
Well, in the other area that he has overachieved, in fact, Carl Edwards, when Matt Kenseth sat on the pole at Kansas a number of weeks ago, he looked inside the car and said, "What did you do with my old teammate Matt Kenseth, the way he's been qualifying?" Now, he did qualify 16th here, but that's the first time he's qualified outside the top 10 since qualifying 20th at Texas. But I want to follow up on what Wally said. Yeah, when I look at the last 5 races, I do start to wonder, did this team peak too early? I don't think you can ever take your eye off Matt Kenseth, no part of the season, but his last 5 races since he got that 3rd win at Darlington, he only has 1 top 10 finish, and that was finishing 6th at Dover. But those numbers are a little bit artificial, because you just think about the engine failure at Dover, and then we know what all the Toyota drivers went through at Pocono the next week when Toyota pulled the power back. And last week, he probably had one of the best runs he's ever had at Sonoma, at a road course, and ran out of fuel on the last lap. But I do think, looking at some of these upcoming racetracks, even Daytona next week, where he's been so strong, was so strong in February, I think it's going to be a big key. Is this team, are they still on the same track that they were the first few races?
Yeah, and kind of sneaky fast at the restrictor plate tracks. He won 2 of the 4 plate races a year ago, and this season, as Larry mentioned, very good in the Daytona 500, leading when he lost an engine late, and was very solid at Talladega as well.
Yeah, and I do believe, I understand, I believe he understands how to race at those places. But I believe from winter testing, those guys learned a lot. Those guys were the fastest guys. When you look at Gibbs, those 3 cars were the best cars down at winter testing, I felt like. When they went back, they backed it up, all 3 of them. They had some engine problems down there. They went to Talladega not in the right place at the right time, but I still believe that Matt knows how to drive those racetracks. At the same time, I'm not sure that the Toyota, hopefully the cutback on the power has not affected their restrictor plate stuff.
And what Larry pointed out is very true. I mean, it's not like they haven't been running good. They just have not had too much luck. I mean, running out of gas last weekend, things like that have showed those poor finishes, but they're going to get back on track.
Yeah. So we're in a hold pattern at Kentucky Speedway. Anytime it rains, we do some silly things on television. I remember last year at Michigan, Kyle, Larry, and I eating Vegemite supplied by Marcos Ambrose. That's a moment I would like to forget. Tonight, I'm sporting my
That's not
vintage
silly. That's
Kyle
not silly.
Petty tie.
That's not silly.
You don't think so? It made you a lot of cash,
classy.
right?
Classy.
Classy. Okay.
That's classy.
Very good. And tonight, we also had a moment with Brad Keselowski and Larry McReynolds. Look, Brad doing his impersonation of America's crew chief.
That's perfect.
It is good. And that's what you should do when there's rain at the racetrack. But I got to be quite honest with you, we're all over the rain. We're ready to go racing, and hopefully we will continue to make progress drying this track. The jet dryer's out there right now. We've got more Countdown to Green presented by Kelley Blue Book when we roll on live from Sparta, Kentucky.
Making their way out through the crowds and hopefully getting in their race cars soon. You know, about 2-3 weeks ago, I had a chance to go out to Whiskey River. That's Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s ultimate man cave. It's an amazing place. And we got to sit down and chat about where Junior is headed. What was the inspiration for doing this?
I needed somewhere that I wanted to hang out that wasn't, you know, if I wanted to have a party or have some friends over, get together for a couple beers or whatever, where I didn't have to worry about tearing my house up or dirtying up the house any. This place, you don't have to clean it up. It takes care of itself. It wasn't planned. It wasn't well thought out, to be honest with you. And, you know, it wasn't really the most responsible thing that I spent my money on, but it's been worth it to me. Where a lot of things I might spend money on or have spent money on, I've regretted. This is something that I think I appreciate more and more as I get older.
Adorning the 200-acre landscape are nearly 60 old race cars, each one lovingly left to rust and rot. For a relatively young man, not yet 40, Dale is quite nostalgic.
I think the older I got, the more I realized how delicate life is and how short it is, you know. It's just crazy how time goes by and how much older we get and how further away from your childhood you get, and you start realizing, man, you know, it's halfway over. You know, life's going by. And I think when I was younger, I was into just partying, having fun. What was the next thing I could do that was fun? You know, trying to be lazy.
Yeah.
I think the older you get, the more you want to kind of hang on to things that remind you of your past, you know.
Finally, all will be right in the world. Dale Earnhardt Jr. snaps that dry spell, winning today at Michigan.
Even though the wins have been scarce, Earnhardt and the 88 have become solid chase contenders over the past 2 seasons. But fans, critics, and even Dale himself still question, will there be a championship title in his rearview mirror when it's all over?
Whatever it is that we're not doing, whatever it is I'm not doing, we need to figure that out. To be able to succeed and achieve our goals, we've got to win races. We've got to go to victory lane. We can run third and be happy and we get top 10s and top 5s, but that won't allow us to reach our goal of winning the championship.
Does one championship complete you then?
Sure, I mean...
You don't need 6, you don't need 7. Just one gets it done. Everything else is icing on top of the cake.
Sure, yeah, I'd say so. I mean, everybody wants to be a champion. People don't say, I want to be a 10-time champion. They just want to be a champion, you know, once and once over. So anything past that, I think, is a bonus.
How long do you stay after it? If you're closing in on 40, I mean, there is a window there, right?
Sure, I don't know what that window is. Everybody's different. Everybody responds differently. I think when I'm not competitive or I'm not in equipment that I feel like is competitive, then I've got to start answering some pretty tough questions.
What do you do then?
The best scenario for me would be to cycle back down the ranks in reverse. I mean, I'd love to go back to the Nationwide Series. I'd love to drive the trucks some. I'd love to go run late model races. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna drive race cars hopefully well past my 55th birthday. Yeah.
Really?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I do for a living.
Okay. How do you see yourself changing from here, though? What's next for you? Family coming soon?
I don't really know what's in the future as far as family goes. I've got a great relationship with my girlfriend Amy, and sure has changed me a lot. But I don't really know, you know, what the future looks like. I really like things come natural.
And how about the Earnhardt name? How do you go about securing that future on the racetrack? Because there's a lot of fans on the grandstands that want that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's going to have to, you know, I don't know. I just have to see how how things go for me in the future as far as my relationship. But I mean, who's to say if I have a son that he doesn't even want to race, doesn't care to race. So hopefully, I'd love it if there was Earnhardt's racing for years and years to come, but that's all really, out of my hands pretty much. It really comes down to fate.
You know, Wally, I think I've watched that piece a couple hundred times, and every time I do, I'm just riveted to that long pause Dale put there when he was thinking about what he does or what could happen with the Earnhardt name in racing. Obviously, you followed your father in his famous footsteps in racing. There's a lot of weight when you have a famous last name in a racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting, to hear him talk about that. And, when you're at this level, this is the highest stress level you could get in auto racing. And sometimes it gets to the point where it's not a whole lot of fun. And him talking about going back and saying, well, I'd like to go back to the Nationwide Series and do some late model racing and stuff. That's what these guys do, because they do it because it's a lot of fun. That pressure is off. And we all started racing cars because we love to drive race cars. But then when you get, like I said, it becomes a business. It's a different deal when you get to this level. So I'm not really surprised on what he said there.
Yeah, and how great would it be to see Dale Earnhardt Jr. after he finishes his Sprint Cup career, perhaps with a championship. He said he just needs one to satisfy his needs, running weekly in the Nationwide Series or the Truck Series. The grandstands would be full on Friday nights and Saturday afternoons, without question, if Dale Earnhardt Jr. were a part of the equation. Let's not forget, back late March, early April, he was leading the championship. Now, things didn't go so great for him throughout the month of May. However, he's where he needs to be, in the top 10 in the championship standings. Here they are, Sprint Cup points. After 16 races complete, Johnson and Edwards up front. Johnson and Kenseth, the drivers with 3 wins, so they would have the most bonus points if the chase began now. Martin Truex Jr., big gainer last week, got the victory in the top 10. And that win could go a long way for him as we head down the stretch of the regular season. Casey Kane, tough couple of weeks. He's 11th in the championship and has that #1 wild card spot. And Tony Stewart, who wrecked late last week at Sonoma, went from 10th to 15th. His victory at the Monster Mile in Dover would get him wild card position #2. And Wally, you and I have this conversation every year at this time, and you have always said, if you want to feel good about yourself, you better get 2 W's, because if you don't have them, there's going to be some uncertainty heading toward the playoffs.
Yeah, and there is. And it's hard to get those W's these days. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, Tony Stewart certainly doesn't feel like he's very safe right now. There's a bunch of those guys that are looking for those wins. But, you're right. That's what it's going to take. And it's so hard. You look at Denny Hamlin and saying, oh, wait, he may have a shot at getting back in this thing. But a couple of bad races since he's come back, and he's pretty much out of it. So it's a tough deal right now, yeah.
And we saw last week how quick it can change. Jeff Gordon, a runner-up at Sonoma, all of a sudden he's knocking on the door of the top 10. They go out and get a win, and everything changes for that team. It's very fragile, and the reason why the points are so tight, from like 7th back to 17th, certainly anything can happen. So it's raining here at Kentucky. We continue to converse, and hopefully it won't be long before we're putting cars on track. And we're just a few minutes away from driver introductions. We'll hear from some of the superstars of NASCAR when we continue. They're headed out to the stage. The jet dryers are on track, and there is a glimmer of hope on the radar. Austin Dillon double dipping this weekend. Perhaps we'll visit him when Countdown to Green continues. Mother Nature not cooperating tonight at Kentucky. Welcome back to Countdown to Green, presented by Kelley Blue Book. Just when it looked like we were making progress on the track, the skies opened up once again. It's raining now, and the jet dryers having a hard time getting their job done. And hopefully we'll get some life out of this radar, and we will have an opportunity to race later this evening here in the Bluegrass. So Carl Edwards sent out the challenge. Find the Turtle Man. And we're looking for him. Here you see his picture, and if you're at the track, maybe you can run him down and alert our people. We'd love to. That's Wally Dallenbach with his best impersonation of the Turtle Man. You just never know what's going to happen when you have a rain track. All right, so earlier on Countdown, we had a feature on Kevin Harvick. He's got an interesting workout routine. It started earlier this season. And here it is once again with Matt Yoakum. Enjoy.
Hammer fist. Come up. Down. Down. Come up. Come up.
Describe where you are currently with your belt. You've got the green belt, and then where you hope to climb to.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I started, the week of leading into Daytona, and was really just looking for something to help my flexibility. But it's something that I've kind of taken to as you go 3 days a week. You get your mind off of everything else. You can come in and focus on something that really has absolutely nothing to do with racing, but it's just a very structured way of doing things.
Of all the people that I've taught private lessons to in the past,
and I've been teaching this art 51 years. I would say he's probably the top student. He is so driven. I'd say, Kevin, he is a black belt. He's just waiting for the test.
The spin kicks, most green belts won't be able to do what he can do. And the jump kicks are amazing.
He kicks as strong as a first-degree black belt.
Good job. Really pushes you to pay attention to your flexibility. I've seen a big improvement with no lower back soreness, and my hips are much better than they used to be.
Harvick monitors his heart rate during Taekwondo, just as he does when he's in the gym, all in an effort to mimic the same workout load that his heart experiences during a race.
Give me heart rate, what age? 52. Good.
On race day, buckling in, Harvick's heart rate is roughly 60 beats per minute. Max heart rate during the event could climb as high as 180.
He'll bring the watch in and we'll plug it into a USB and we'll download it to the computer, and we're able to pull up all these graphs, and you can see when the race starts off right here, it jacks up to 145, 150. When we reach the yellows and the red, that's a lot of side-by-side racing. And then you can see the dips, as we were talking about, the cautions.
And even though cautions do lower his pulse, the majority of the time, Kevin races at 145 to 165 beats per minute. At tracks like Las Vegas or Charlotte, shockingly, that zone can last a total of 2 to 3 hours.
But your brain, and there's so many things being triggered in your body and tense, and so there's just a lot of things that keep your heart rate up that I didn't really pay attention to before.
It's the duration of the event. That's what's so hard on the heart. I'm not really sure of any athlete that endures that kind of training load.
And his workouts are designed to be the fuel that drives his heart rate out of the race car.
Good work. Really, honestly, he's good at 155. 145 to 155. 3, 4. He's working, but he can keep going at that rate. Good. Wind it up, wind it up, wind it up. 4, 3, 2. Let's take care of that. Good job. Here comes our hill climb. Dig, dig. 1 minute. Heart rate. 153. Good. The harder I push him in here, not that makes it easier driving the car, but it makes his stamina actually lead to lower heart rates by pushing in those zones. There's 160. I'll take that. Spin it. And his heartbeat is improving 3 to 4 beats every couple weeks.
On the days when you're slacking, calorie burn's way down, heart rate's down, and he'll look at you and say, you know, we need to pick the pace back up. We didn't make it into this heart rate zone, or we didn't do this, and compared to this last workout, we did this. So it gives us a lot of comparisons that you can't hide from.
Back in May at the Coca-Cola 600, you saw Harvick doing smoky burnouts after taking the checkered flag and scoring the win. But what spiked your heart the most during that event?
It was after we took the checkered flag, so that was definitely a good day for our Budweiser team, and it's just been interesting to see the types of racetracks and the different things that affect you more than what you would have realized before, just paying attention to it. And it's really more fun than it is anything just knowing and paying attention to the things that are going on.
One thing that surprised me when you say, okay, which racetrack you think it would spike the most, many fans would think Bristol or short track, but really that wasn't one of the places that really spiked on.
Yeah, you know, the less cautions there are, usually the higher the heart rate maintains, and you know, the short tracks have more cautions, so the heart rate average stays a lot lower. So it's definitely not what we would have thought there either. I think that the highest sustained heart rate has been Las Vegas, because that's been I think we had 3, maybe 4 cautions there.
What race did you feel the biggest impact after doing, you know, upping your workout and also doing the Taekwondo?
You know, really, only reason I really started the Taekwondo was just because I'm probably the most unflexible person in the world. In my legs, and stretching is boring. So we did that to work on flexibility, and on Mondays it gives you the opportunity to go ahead and take some aggression out on somebody by either kicking them or punching them. So it's fun. But you know, my lower back was just something that was always sore, and your glutes were sore, and your legs, and I knew that that was kind of our weakness. So that was what Brad and I had talked about, that we wanted to do something different this year to try to help, not only strengthen my lower back, but get a little better on my flexibility.
Now, early feedback on Twitter, 3 out of the 5, and we haven't had a chance to talk to Truex or Vickers, but 3 out of the 5 MWR drivers, they want to take a pass if there's any kind of post-race issue.
Oh, come on, man! That's not really what all that's for. That's really just, it was just for fun and trying to just become better yeah, I mean, it's really just intended to have fun with. So hopefully we don't have to go to that point.
I think the guy who has the most fun at your Taekwondo workouts is Little Jackson, and he's a scrapper.
Little Jackson, yeah, he's 7. So he, it's fun to see the kids, and you saw Sam. She's a 15-year-old second-degree black belt. So you just never really know who you're going to come across, and I think taking the classes has kind of helped me understand that sometimes you don't want to pick a fight with the wrong person, because even though they might be 15 and be in the band, they can still probably whip up on you.
And Grandmaster Robert.
Yeah, Grandmaster Robert, he put you on the ground. Did you tell everybody about that? He put you on the ground with 4 fingers.
Very impressive, how he can really take you right out of the game.
Yeah, I guess after 50 years and being a 9th-degree black belt, that'll do that to you. But it's just a lot of fun. I enjoy the kids and the different kids that come to the classes, and it's always fun to see how disciplined they are, and just for me, it's just totally outside of my element of doing something different, and I always like to try different things, and so it's been a lot of fun and something that I would never have expected to see myself doing.
All right, well, Adam, it's really interesting when we have a chance to go with sports and science and see what facts and amazing stats come out after so many types of testing.
And Matt, speaking of stats, yesterday in practice, Kevin Harvick, one of the best cars, but he got a bad draw in qualifying. He starts 22nd. Larry McReynolds says when we go green, there are going to be some comers and goers. And hopefully we'll go green at some point this evening. But as you saw, the rain is falling. Hope this sky can present some optimism for the rest of the night.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
NASCAR on TNT, back live at the Kentucky Speedway. And if you were with us earlier on Countdown to Green, presented by Kelley Blue Book, you heard the interview with Carl Edwards. Cousin Carl, starting on the front row tonight, threw down a big challenge. Listen to this just a few moments ago.
I have a challenge. All right, the folks at home know who the Turtle Man is. Ernie Brown Jr., the Turtle Man, is on the premises somewhere, and I think it should be TNT's job to go find him, because the ratings will go through the roof. You get that guy on camera, it'll be 100 times better than anything we could come up with.
Hey, Carl, you ask and you receive.
Turtle Man.
He is here. The Turtle Man. We got banjo and muscle. So are you enjoying yourselves at Kentucky Speedway tonight?
When I told them I was coming back with the security guard behind me.
What kind of critters have you found? There's a few floating around here, you know.
I've been looking, but I haven't found them but fan critters.
Okay, very good.
There's a bunch of fan critters here. I'll give you that. A lot of fans. I'll give you that. Now wait a minute. Now you when I was watching, I watched the episode where you went to the Speedway and you caught 2 raccoons, and what'd you name them?
Carl Edwards and David Reagan.
Where'd you catch them at?
Down there at the Ponderosa Speedway. Yeah, Ponderosa Speedway, yeah.
That's a paved track, right? That's a nice place like this.
That's a dirt track. That's where we dirt track race at.
Oh, you race?
Yeah.
Which one of you drive?
Motorsports.
Who drives?
I got 2 drivers. I actually got 3 drivers.
Oh, you're an owner?
Yes.
I'm looking for a ride. Hey, what if we come to Ponderosa Speedway and Danica and I match race and Turtle Man's the flagman?
Hey, that sounds like a good idea to
That's
me.
a throwdown.
Now, you know, when you guys were being searched for by our production crew, we were doing a little promotion about the fact that we were trying to get you guys up here, and Wally was doing his best Turtle Man call.
Yes,
so
he was good, too.
I want to see exactly how good Wally is. So, Turtle Man, I want you to give it to us, and then we're going to put Wally front and center. You go ahead.
Yeah.
Live action!
Live action!
Yeah! Yes!
And now we know what Wally's doing when he's supposed to be doing research for the race.
That's good, man.
So where's the next stop?
Next stop? I don't know. You have to ask Neil on that.
We need a little background music, Neil.
Black Ducks at the Kentucky Motor Speedway.
Okay.
That's only
There you go. You want to give us? I mean, you know,
play
a
us
tribute
out.
here.
You can play us out. Can you play us out?
About Turtle Man finding Bigfoot, okay? see him around. The only hope y'all got to find in that beast is a fella named Bernie Lee Brown. With his best friend Lolly Dog by his side, old Turtle Man, he got game. Cause he's tracked any critter from a 3-day trail through the wind, the sleet, and the rain.
You got what you wanted, Carl Edwards. Stay with us on TNT.
For you.
How you gonna let it go? Live action.
Back live at Kentucky, and Mother Nature is a winner tonight. After several tries to get this racetrack dry, unfortunately, too much rain this evening. So NASCAR has elected to postpone round 17 for the Sprint Cup Series. We will race Sunday afternoon at Kentucky Speedway, Eastern Time, live on TNT. Scheduled to go green tonight just prior to 8 p.m. Eastern, but way too much precipitation. Several attempts to get this track dry, and every time it looked like there was a window, it closed. We got more rain, and so we'll have to wait until tomorrow afternoon. No prime time racing this evening. We're going on a Sunday afternoon, and we hope you will join us tomorrow at noon Eastern. For all of us here at NASCAR on TNT, a special thanks to so many who worked so hard in the weather, the folks behind the scenes.
What do you think of this thing?
We had a lot of fun, but unfortunately we didn't get an opportunity to put cars on track. We'll see you here tomorrow. Thanks for being with us this evening from Sparta, Kentucky. For all of us here, I'm Adam Alexander. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening.
Yeah!